We continue our European jaunt here in the World GT as we head towards the halfway point of the season. And well, World GT Championship is coming to you from the virtual Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, for rounds number 10 to 12 of the championship. It's 3 20-minute sprint races, and it's myself, Paul Smith. Joined as always is back, Peter Mackay. Pleasure to have you back as always, Peter.
It's a pleasure to be back, Paul, and thank you for holding the fort while I've been away. Of course, definitely not the value that I add, that's for sure. But no, great to be back. 3 sprint races in Catalonia, always going to be fun.
Certainly is fun. Last week we of course were at the Circuit de la South for 2 feature rounds of the championship. Don't forget, this championship started at the end of July. It seems so long ago already. We have a week's break next week because we're at the halfway point of the season, so the drivers get a week off. But in 2 weeks' time we head to the Daytona road course for one of our endurance rounds, along with Fuji Speedway and the Red Bull Ring, and we finish off the season back in Europe with Monza, Imola and Spa-Francorchamps, where we will decide who is going to be a champion. And speaking of championships, the pro standings to start with. It's James Bume, who's currently got a 38-point lead over Scotland's Ross McFarlane in second place. Enough for Scott. Alex Davidson is in third place. He's just 6 points behind his teammate there. Then Jack Cedric is a further 3 points back in fourth place. So just 47 points, covering the top 4 in the championship. Mark Fletcher ahead of Leif Sebastian, with Ethan Critchley, Axel Sliptrovic, Morgan Butler and Jesse Stevens rounds out the top 10 of the pro standings. In Pro-Am, well, it's a bit more one-sided here because Denis Grabowski, the privateer, is currently leading that championship by 82 points over Adam Watson, who's in second place. Daniel Sedgley is a further 18 points back in third place, ahead of another driver for Pro-Am who's been doing quietly well so far this season. Michael Gray in fourth, ahead of Andy Archer. Phil Samways, Jonathan Walker, Niels Bocage, Richard Simner and Chris Gooch rounds out the top 10. In your AM Championships, well, it's Sophia Ridpath who's currently, again, it's quite a one-sided championship, 88 points. But look at that name in second place. Carol Pakalka, one of the newcomers to the series, has been making their way up the standings and finds themselves in second place, but 88 points off of the championship lead. Will Guthrie is in third place, ahead of Adam Hedgecock, with Paddy Faulkner, Paul Joseph Clist, Lars Van Rijn, Josh Boots, Paul Crawford and Jesse Payne Wilkins rounding out the top 10. The pro standings in teams, well, it's just 5 teams, and there's 40 points separating the Altitude Esports team and the Pure Sims Esports team, so it's absolutely neck and neck between those two. The Free-Am UK team are 250 points off of the championship leader, ahead of the Altitude Esports white team. Apex One with Simutech rounds out the top 5. Then in the AM Teams Championship, Olympus Esports Titan currently have a 235-point lead over the Fat Atom Racing outfit. They then are leading out AI Race Summaries, DCW Racing, Full Tilt v SimSport, Full Tilt v Motorsports, Altitude Esports Blue, Full Tilt v Autosport, and Olympus Esports Atlas rounds out the 8 AM teams. Last cars out there on qualifying right now. Axel Sliptrovic is the last one who will be come across the line here. But Peter, it's 3 sprint races around the historic layout of this Barcelona circuit. So what are some of the challenges that we're going to see of these drivers here today?
Well, in the sprint races as well, it gets pretty frantic. There's only 20 minutes in each races. It's all about eliminating those mistakes, because unlike in an endurance race or even per se in a feature, you just cannot afford the time to recover. It's done. If you make a mistake or if you're caught up in an accident in the opening laps, that's it, and you then risk compromising your entire race meeting as well. So the drivers have really got to be focused in on it in this first race particularly.
And it's a real mix of a track around here as well. Quite a technical track. You need a car with good downforce, good grip, and well, that seems to be suited to the Porsche, which is completely the opposite to last round, because at Circuit de la South, that Porsche was just struggling because of all the top speed sections.
Well, James Boumé, I think, as well, is just mastered that Porsche 992 GT3R better than anyone. I mean, to qualify on pole by nearly 0.4 of a second from a driver of Alex Davidson's quality, it's remarkable. I mean, this season from James Boumé, he says it's all to do with the new equipment. I'm sure some of it is, but his driving is just getting better all the time.
Certainly is. He's been doing really well in that car. Worth pointing out, your top Pro-Am, Jonathan Walker, actually has qualified in 6th place, so really positive for the 3M UK driver. And Sophia Ridpath, an AM driver in the top 10 in qualifying here. We'll go through the grid in just a few moments' time, but that is really impressive in her BMW, so we'll see how she gets on out there. But we are getting set for the starting grid, so let us take you through that one. And it is James Boumé for Altitude Esports, who's on pole position alongside him, Alex Davidson for the Pure Sims Esports team. Pure Sims Esports, Ross McFarlane in row number 2 with Leif Sebastian for 3M UK. Jack Sedgwick and Jonathan Walker, your top Pro-Am, 6th place, 3rd row of the grid. Row number 4, it's Matthias Luchak with Adam Watson. Sophia Ridpath is your top AM driver on row number 5. Alongside her is Axel Sliptrovic, Niels Bocage and Ethan Critchley, row number 6. 7th row of the grid is Mark Fletcher and Richard Simner with Adam Tompkins and Carol Pakalka on row number 8. Row 9 for Michael Rack and Andy Archer. Row number 10 then, Tom Weston, alongside him is Jack Osborne. 11th row of the grid for Michael Gray and Adam Hedgecock with William Guthrie and Daniel Sedgley then on row number 12. 13th row of the grid is Paul Webster with Lars Van Rijn alongside him. And then row 14, Chris Gooch and Phil Samways. Paddy Faulkner and Josh Booth round out row number 15. Just a few more spots to go then. Row 16, it's Paul Clist with Dennis Grabowski, who has got a no time set this week. Behind him, Tim Perry and Ben Gregory as well, also with no time set in qualifying. It's traditionally, Peter, as we look at our onboard cameras with Adam Hedgecock, traditionally this track is very difficult to work your way through a field, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a real driver's test here at Catalunya. I mean, a real test of the machine also. That's why so many racing teams come testing here, because you've got a little bit of everything. You've got a big, long front straightaway, which obviously demands a kind of very much a slippery car, and then you go through the rest of the circuit, and it's big, long corners that requires the downforce to get it to work. But you're absolutely right. Overtaking's tricky, and turn 1 really is the big opportunity. On the brakes into there is where we should see the majority of the moves made.
Getting to see some of our driver cameras as well. Always good to see the drivers and their setups here on broadcast. So good to see them joining us on the broadcast, and I'm sure we'll get to see them in action throughout today's races. But James Boumé, 0.3 of a second he set pole position by. We'll have to see how he gets on in the race, because 1 lap pace is good, as we found out this weekend. If you watch the Formula 1 lap pace is good, but race pace is crucial. We're all set then for round number 10 of the World GT Championship, and it is green flag racing here at Barcelona. Away we go. James Boumé gets a great start, and we're going 3 wide, 3 by 3 down towards turn number 1. Now surely they all can't get through together like that. Onto the brakes they go, and through goes Ross McFarlane into second place. So from row number 2, gets himself into second, and Alex Davidson bullies Leif Sebastian out the way as Sophia Ridpath. Oh, there's crashing. There's a big wreck there. Number of cars. Car 97 is one of those. That's Ethan Critchley has been involved in all of that. Jonathan Walker, after that great qualifying from Jonathan Walker all the way down the field, and well, there's a number of cars, Peter, running a bit slow and looking a bit battered. Yeah,
one of the Fat Atom McLarens involved in that mess as well, and there was that Ethan Critchley in the black and red cat was, so not a good start to the day for Ethan Critchley. But at the front of the field, they really had to sort themselves out quickly and get through. Grabowski T-bone there is stranded across the circuit, and yeah, that car is done. And that, again, if you're starting race 3 from the back of the pack, you're compromising yourself so much. Very much like in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. If you have a poor race 1, you're on the back foot all day.
Oh, there's cars spinning off everywhere here in this opening lap. They're struggling to keep the cars on track. We do say green flag racing though. Now, Dennis Grabowski, that's big because, of course, remember, he came into this round as your Pro-Am Championship leader. Adam Watson out there, he is... Where's Adam gone on my timing screen? He's 6th right now. So Adam's seen a big chunk. If he stays where he is, he's seen a big chunk of points go his way in his Pro-Am Championship battle.
Well, he needs them because he sits on 467 points at the moment. Grabowski is on 549. Grabowski's been very much the benchmark driver in the Pro-Am class so far, but we have seen a really rejuvenated Adam Watson in this year's World GT Championship at the wheel of that Altitude Esports Porsche. So just 20 minutes the distance for each of these 3 sprint races, and like I say, any mistakes and you are really playing recovery for the rest of the day. Sophia Ridpath, she's far ahead of her rivals in the AM class, 8th overall. And like you say, Paul, if she could stay anywhere around that mark, she's in for a big haul of points there. And oh, Jonathan Walker got a bit of a help, and then it was all arms and elbows after that.
It was an Altitude Esports car that got into the back of him. Wow. That's well, he was starting in and around those places, wasn't he, Adam? He started 8th, so he would have been directly behind Jonathan at the start of the race. So potentially Watson getting into the back of him and scattering cars. Then Ethan Critchley, an innocent bystander in all that incident as well. With that one, we have had 5 drivers on pit road: Jonathan Walker, Ethan Critchley. Here we go again, and yeah, Critchley, he's spat off, he's holding his brakes, but there's not a lot you can do when you've got a whole field bearing down on you.
Niels Bocage was innocent bystander to all of that also in the 31 Porsche. So such as Mark Fletcher again, and was really caught up in that one. Oh dear. And I think it was actually Axel Slepčević in the number 41 car that triggered the incident, actually.
Oh, well, if that's the case, then we apologise to Adam Watson. There's the T-bone on Dennis Grabowski, and I think it was Chris Gooch who got into the side of him. Here's Tom Weston, new to the championship, and it was a dive down the inside in the Ferrari, the full tilt car, down to the inside, and Tom Weston dropping back. And here's Ethan Critchley. Look at how badly damaged that car is, and he was trying to get that car back to pit road. Does he manage to get it on pit road? I'll be amazed if he did. He did. Incredible. Well to hold that one.
Very well done. And what that means then is that you can get back to the pit road and take the fast repair and at least try and salvage something. At the moment, he's in 31st place as Ethan Critchley, so near the back of the pack. But if he can just maybe try and move forward as best as he possibly can, and hope there's a bit of attrition ahead of him, which I think there might be, and there's a perfect example of it. Yep, Michael Rack involved there in that BMW with one of the other BMWs.
I think that was Will Guthrie.
Yeah,
that he just missed. Hey, that's clumsy.
Got right into the back of Daniel Sedgley there, and yeah, clumsy's the right word, I'd say.
Yeah, it's he was never fully alongside to be able to make that move stick. You're fighting for position because let's remember, for those of you who may be new to the championship and you're watching this and you're wondering, well, why are pro drivers fighting AM drivers or pro-am drivers? Well, the points that you score is where you finish in the race. It's not their own individual point scoring in terms of the positions they finish in class. So it's imperative for those drivers, especially someone like Sophia Ridpath, who has actually dropped down the order in this race. She's down to 11th place right now. But it's imperative for someone like that in the AM class to try and get the high scoring positions to gain those points as Daniel Sedgley now gets involved with Ben Gregory.
Here, so Daniel Sedgley is on the headlight flashers there, and I think waiting for he's signalling for Ben Gregory to get back going again as well. That's good manners there. So certainly a pretty fractious start to this meeting here at Circuit de Catalunya. Very much a modern day venue, opened just over 30 years ago, but has hosted Grand Prix racing on 2 and 4 wheels basically since its inception all the way to current day. In fact, it hosted the MotoGP at the weekend, Paul.
Yeah, it did. Of course, it's the home of the Spanish Grand Prix in Formula 1. I always think back to that famous scene down towards the start-finish straight down towards turn number 1, Mansell and Senna, the very first Spanish Grand Prix held here in Formula 1. Sparks flying from the undersides of the cars and not giving each other room, and it was spectacular to see. But that was 1991. And I can remember watching it, so I'm just aging myself there. Axel Slijepcevic is on board right now in 8th place. He's got fellow Altitude Esports driver Adam Watson in front of him. Now, does he get onto the blower and say, Adam, I know you're fighting for a Pro-Am championship, but I want past?
I think he could try. I don't think he'll be successful somehow. I think that pace-wise, they're very closely matched by the looks of things.
That was Lupchak running wide.
Yep, and Adam Watson said thank you very much. Happy birthday to me.
Well, the question is now, can Axel look down the inside? This Porsche has been good on brakes. We've seen that all season long, and that was a perfect demonstration of it right there, Peter. It's just so lit, because it's not as long a braking zone as the tighter hairpin of the version of the circuit that the no longer actually uses. Watson let Slijepcevic past.
It's as if he listens to me and says, right, whatever Peter says, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I've got form for that, folks. So, yes, Adam Watson, has he got a slow down penalty? I think he's got a slow down penalty.
No, he was just slow off the corner.
He was just slow off the corner. Okay. Well, it has just thwarted Adam Watson's momentum a touch here, but trying to give a really stern and robust defence here to Lupchak, and he's just doing so. Whoa, a little bit of contact there. You've got to be careful, not take too much risk. You might feel like it's going to be a little bit of light contact, but it's amazing how you think, well, I've got plenty of room there, and then all of a sudden you're twirled around and you're heading towards the barrier thinking, how did that happen? So you do have to leave a little bit extra in reserve, particularly here on the iRacing platform. Of course, we're racing over the internet. If there's just a slight blip in the internet or a slight discrepancy in the speed of the internet, the simulator can predict a slightly different place for the car to be in, and that can cause more contact than you think it might have been.
Or if you're a driver racing elsewhere in the world other than Europe,
yes,
as well, that has a big effect as well.
Yeah. The signal's got to travel the distance somehow.
You can't change the laws of physics, as a certain Scottish engineer said. But
true. You also can't shove your granny off a bus either. Maybe that's the laws of physics too.
Anyway, we're halfway through this first race of the evening. James Bume still leads this one by 2 seconds over Osbert Fowler, so he's been able to just eke out that gap at the front. In fact, the last lap, James Bume did a 1:41.267. Rosbert Fowler a 1 minute 41.650. That just goes to show nearly 0.4 of a second quicker on just that one lap from James Bume. Alex Davidson is in 3rd place ahead of Leif Sebastian, with Jack Sedgwick in 5th place. Axel Slijepcevic is ahead of these 3 that we're looking at right now on the screen. Adam Watson, who is your leading Pro-Am driver, Matthias Lupchak and Adam Tompkins at the back of this group. Andy Archer in 10th place is your 2nd placed Pro-Am driver, who's then ahead of the top Am driver in Sophia Ridpath, who's in 11th place right now. Michael Gray, 12th, is 3rd place in Pro-Am. 13th place for Karol Pukalka in AM, second place in AM, with William Guthrie in 15th, third place in AM. So the different classes of drivers, that they're all relatively close together in terms of championship races on the track compared to what championship they're particularly fighting for.
Yeah, the only exception possibly to that rule is Adam Watson right now, sitting in 7th. He's mixing it up there with the pros. It's been a superb performance so far from Adam Watson, and you come back, he's in the Porsche, you come back to the performance of the Porsche. It appears to have very good aero performance, but braking, if you had top trump card for GT3 cars on iRacing right now, if it was braking and you've got a Porsche in your deck, you're going to win that hand of top trumps. That's where it really excels, is in the braking. And going down into turn 1 here, it's a big braking zone.
We're just starting lap number 8. I can tell you the 5-lap average lap time, James Bume is almost 0.3 of a second per lap quicker than Ross McFarlane. That is just relentless pace at the front as William Guthrie gets into the back of that Fat Atom McLaren, and he's going to take a while to get back on. He's got to look for a bit of clean space, and he does so, gets back on, but he's dropped down the order now as William down to 23rd on track.
That's such a shame. Just a relatively small error, but quite significant consequences there. Lost a lot of time there, unfortunately. But coming back to the fantastic pace of James Bume, on average 0.3 of a second quicker per lap, as you said, Paul. That's absolutely in line with his qualifying pace. So you mentioned that 1 lap pace. Clearly, he can replicate it in the race as well.
Michael Rack is having a terrific battle with Richard Simner right here. He's got Tim Perry behind him. Perry, of course, who started at the back of the grid, has gained 15 places in this race, so has been using the attrition, and again, contact for the 777 of Michael Rack. We saw him have that incident with Daniel Sedgley earlier on, and getting into the back of Richard Simner there. So Rack isn't having a good day of it in this opening race.
No, and I think he may be just getting a little bit impatient, because Simner had been defending very aggressively, kind of moving a little bit on the braking zone in certain places. So yeah, maybe just trying to force a move when it's not there. But let's keep a close eye on that one, because Michael Rack in the pro class trying to get past Richard Simner in the pro am class. Michael Rack he needs these points big time for his championship classification. Richard Simner's not going to roll over in a hurry, that's for sure, because behind Michael Rack you've got Tim Perry in the Pro-Am class, who's very much one of Simner's biggest rivals.
We have had 1 official retirement and 2 that are just sat on the in the box at the moment right now. Dennis Grabowski has retired from this race. Matt Fletcher, who was involved in all those incidents on lap number 1, he's still parked in pit roads. He will be coming back out, and Nils Bocage also on pit road as well. So 3 retirements from this race. Adam Hedgecock right now we're looking at here, going through the chicane of turn 7 and 8, heading uphill. Incredible that I could actually tell that, given how the camera can't deal with the brightness of the screen.
Well, it's I think it's doing rather well there. Notice that Adam Hedgecock's got a very similar monitor to what I have on my rig, so that's made me feel like I've got one less excuse in my book now. If it's good enough for Hedge, it's good enough for me. 4 minutes and 42 seconds to go. I do like how he's got the McLaren steering wheel, but on the Porsche as well. So you see the hands moving about with the McLaren MP412C steering wheel, and of course, most importantly, Paul, blue and yellow 3M gloves. Absolutely.
You do realise how expensive the Porsche steering wheel is to buy as a wheel rim.
I've heard it's pretty pricey. Yeah, Larry Ten Vorda, he has one. When he won his second Super Cup championship, he treated himself to the RSR replica wheel. He says it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, but it's got a price tag to go along with it. But Adam Hedgecock then carrying on in 19th place behind that battling Tim Perry, Michael Rack duel that's going on right now. So those two just as they were. I did notice that Lukchak had got back ahead of Adam Watson on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. So Watson down to 8th place, a little bit closer to his Pro-Am rivals right now. So there's Lukchak on screen for the Apex 1 with Simutech team. Matthias, well, the whole team has really been struggling to adapt to this championship, and we've seen this quite a few times, Peter, that new people come into the series and they either get it straight away and get into that vibe and feel of how things are raced here, or it takes you a while, as here's a replay of how that move happened.
Yeah, on the brakes there as well, set it up very nicely there, did Matthias Lukchak, and got the move done on number 291, Adam Watson in the silver and blue Altitude Esports Porsche. Adam Watson now has the attention of another pro driver in Adam Tompkins, also in a Porsche in that jet black machine. So, but Watson playing this one smart here, still in the top 10. Andy Archer he's only a couple of positions back, but time-wise, Andy Archer, where is he? He's another 5 seconds back. So
yeah, about 4.5, 5 seconds.
4.5, 5 seconds, yeah. So there's, let's look, keep it smooth, keep it tidy for the next 2.5 minutes, and you've got a Pro-Am class win in the bag with Grabowski, well, at the moment in 34th place, sitting in the pits.
There we see some racing out on track as well with the Pure Sims Esports BMW. That's Alex Davidson, behind him Leif Sebastian, and Sebastian then onto the brakes in his Porsche, trying to get past, but not happening right now. The front group, they've not really been changing much throughout this race. The top 5 is still within that top 5. The only change there is actually Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson throughout this race. But we are going to be starting the final lap of this opening race, and I mean, if this has been this action-packed and chaotic on the opening few laps in this race, Peter, what are we going to get with the reverse grid draws?
Well, it's in total contrast, as you rightly say, Paul. The top 5 have been in a kind of a very organised queue, which, well, James Boomy's broken away from them, but they've been very stagnant in terms of position. But in the mid-pack, it's been utter chaos. So when we go into our second race, where we partly reverse the grid, those drivers at the front of the field who have been used to that kind of more orderly fashion, we're going to drop them right into the epicenter of the storm. So we should see then it mixed up all over the circuit. There's all tangle there, and there's Pure Sims off. Number 55 of Alex Davidson in the fence.
And Jack Sedgwick must be laughing all the way to the bank, because he's just jumped 2 places into a podium spot for the NX Racing driver. Alex Davidson and Leif Sebastian, they were battling hard, and they've just got together. They were trying to go side by side through turn number 4, and that just doesn't work here. Sebastian then round the outside. Davidson's car just comes a little bit away from the apex as well, but that's not his fault. I think he was just getting on power. The two just got together, and around goes Davidson. But at the front of your field, it's been a dominant display at the head of your field for Altitude Esports Pro Championship leader James Bume. Just the last corner to go. He's got a lap traffic of Ethan Critchley, who's going to let him past, and James Bume wins round number 10 of the World GT Championship here today. Great result for the Altitude Esports driver. Adam Watson should be your leading Pro-Am, although he has dropped a place to Adam Tompkins, but there he is across the line. Adam Watson with the Pro-Am win in the end, and Sophia Ridpath, not that far behind either, is your Am winner here. So top 11, you've got your Pro-Am and your Am winners here, Peter.
Brilliant stuff from all concerned. Karol Pakalka in one of the very few Mercedes in the field, second in Am, 13th overall. That is definitely a result of note, and that's what Pakalka's got to do, is just keep Sophia Ridpath under pressure and hope for hope for some errors. At the moment, the gap is big, but things can turn so quickly here in the World GT Championship.
Certainly can. So those are the last few drivers across the lines who should be able to give you your provisional race results here in round number 10 of the World GT Championship. Well, after the most important thing of the day, which of course is the spin of the wheel. And where it stops, only Hugo, our producer, knows. And of course all of you watching this one on stream, and it's going to be a small one as well. It is 13 is the reverse grid, so really low number here in this race, and that means that we'll get a look at those provisional results and see who finished where and who's the lucky driver to get that pole position. Well, James Bume, he is your winner here by 4.4 seconds over Ross McFarlane in second place. Jack Sedgwick, as I say, looked into a podium finish in the end here. Third place for him in his Ferrari, just ahead of Axel Slijepčević. Leif Sebastian, who we saw in that incident, finishes fifth in the end after being in fourth most of this race. Matthias Luchak, sixth ahead of Adam Tompkins. Adam Watson finishes in eighth place ahead of Alex Davidson in ninth. Andy Archer rounding out the top 10. Sophia Ridpath is in 11th ahead of Michael Gray, and on pole position for race number 2 of the evening, Karol Pakalka. What a opportunity that is to be starting from the front of the grid. The rest of the drivers will start where they finish, so Jack Osborne 14th ahead of Paul Webster 15th. Richard Simner, Michael Rack, Adam Hedgecott, Paddy Faulkner and Tim Perry round out your top 20. Tim Perry, by the way, gained 13 places in the end by the end of that race. Then Lars van Rijn ahead of Chris Gooch, with Phil Samways, Will Guthrie, Josh Boots, Ben Gregory, Daniel Sedgley, who we saw involved in that incident earlier on, dropping down to 27th. Paul Clist, Tom Weston, and Jonathan Walker rounding out your top 30. And then just 4 more cars. Ethan Critchley finishes 1 lap down after being involved in that opening lap incident. And then drivers who did not finish this race. It is Nils Bakaj, Mark Fletcher and Dennis Grabowski. So that is your opening race of the day, and it was quite the race. A bit chaotic at the start, I think it's fair to say, Peter. We didn't just have that one big incident round turn number 3, but we had other drivers as well struggling to keep the cars on the track.
There was quite a few there, wasn't there, all the way through the field. Little incidents here and there just adding up over the course of the race. It's going to be interesting now to see how the field splits up. I think James Bume will be delighted with such a small reverse grid, 13 positions, because that kind of it keeps him and indeed all the other top drivers around him kind of out of the real trouble, which probably will happen behind. But the big story for me there is that Karol Pakalka got such a good opportunity now, starting on pole. Yes, he has Sophia Ridpath a couple of positions behind him, but to have that clear view down to turn 1 to escape any potential problems at that pinch point through that right-hander, left-hander at turn 1 and 2. Really big opportunity for Pakalka, and particularly for the rundowns down to turn 1. There's nothing wrong with the speed of that Mercedes either.
Yeah, it's certainly got a bit of grunt about it, hasn't it? But Michael Gray, I mean, he's been quietly going about his business in his Full Tilt V Motorsports car, but it is Full Tilt. Okay, the different teams, because it's a sim sport team for Karol Pakalka. Different teams, but under the same awning. They can work together here at the start to try and get themselves the best possible start of this race, to try and maximise the amount of points that they can take away from today.
They can, and having allies around you, genuine allies around you, is so important. This is the thing where in sim racing, there's such a contrast compared to outdoor motorsport, because they always say in an outdoor motorsport that your biggest enemy is actually your teammate, and the first person you want to beat is your teammate. However, in virtual motorsport, in sim racing, it's completely different. There's a lot more camaraderie, there's a lot more collective goals, if you like, and actually the cooperation is so much more. So, you know, if you look at For example, last year champion Landry Andretti all on his own. That made his performance even more impressive because he did it all on his own. So if you've got allies around you, it's so important. I mean, just look at Pure Sims, for example. Alex Davidson and Ross McFarlane, they're always working together in races, and it shows.
It does show, but it also shows how there's no team orders in that Pure Sims outfit, because Lev Sebastian is racing under the 3M banner, but they are run from the Pure Sims awning. I think there's going to be a few words said in that team Discord between this first and second race between Leif and Alex Davidson.
There could be. Yes, there could well be. There could be some 3M gloves being thrown across the awning. After that, that's a perfect example of how not to do it. If you've got teams that are drivers that are working together in one outfit, and you tangle like that with a couple of laps to go, it's clumsy, it's silly. That being said, Alex Davidson still did manage to get home in 9th position, so he still makes the reverse grid, and actually Alex Davidson, you'd argue, is now the favourite for this race because he's going to start furthest up of the really, really top drivers. So watch out for Alex Davidson to make his way through. He'll be starting just on the inside of the third row.
Third row, yeah. I mean, with it being not the biggest of reverse grids, it's certainly going to be less of a challenge for a few of those pro drivers to have to work their way through compared to if we've got a full reverse grid. But we'll have to see how that goes in a few moments' time. But stick around, because coming up after these short messages, it's round number 11 of the World GT Championship from Circuit Barcelona, Catalunya. Welcome back to coverage of rounds 10 to 12 of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay are bringing you all of the action here today. And well, first reverse grid of the evening, Peter. 13 is a reverse grid. Nice low figure. I'm just having a look at the conditions in the warm-up session that they've got, because we've just hit noon in sim time. 38 degrees is the track temperature, so it shouldn't be affected too much because, of course, these are GT cars. The tyres are used to lasting double stints, but still, you're going to feel that little change in the performance, aren't you?
You're just going to notice it a little bit in the grip. We're now starting to head towards the temperatures where the track will start to feel a little bit greasier, a little bit slippier. So the drivers will just have to be aware of that and just get a feel of that over this warm-up session. in the next 4 or 5 minutes just to get ready for race number 2. There's a lot of quick drivers that are starting right at the back of the field. We're going to see Dennis Grabowski starting at the back of the field. We're going to see Ethan Critchley starting up at the back as well. Jonathan Walker, who qualified well into the top 10, he's going to start from deep in the pack also. So there's a lot of drivers that have got a huge amount of work to do in the next 20 minutes of this race, and try and hope that they will catch a reverse grid for race 3 and salvage something out of their evening. And that, like I said at the start of the show, if it goes wrong in race 1, you really are put onto the back foot. Now, for those drivers we just mentioned, it's time to fight back.
Yeah, they really need to charge through and to get those places. I think what we've been seeing though through the season with the Fat Atom team, and I think we're seeing it a little bit in the teams championship as well, is those cars, those McLarens, do look an absolute handful to control. And at a place like this where you've got long radius corners leading into tight corners, you know, I'm thinking of like that section through the opening sector of the lap, really, all through down to turn number 5. It is really, really technical, and this car, it just doesn't seem to have the grip of others.
No, it does seem to be a little bit more tricky, that's for sure, does the McLaren. And this is a circuit, again, there's no surprise why it's so popular for teams to come and test and evaluate racing cars, because it just really puts the racing car under the most comprehensive test, whether that be straight line speed, braking, change of direction, like you say, low speed technical stuff. It's got a bit of everything. It's a really good design actually for putting a car through its paces. Some people might say, oh well, people just go there because the weather's nice in the winter. Yes, but there's loads of other places in the world you can go, and even in Europe, that has similar weather to here in Catalonia. But it's this circuit that really shows up how good a race car actually is. I mean, in Formula One, and I know the calendar's changed a bit, but it used to be that when they first came back to Europe, came to Catalonia, that's when you really got a true impression of who had the best car.
I always remember the story of 2009 Formula One were doing one of their tests here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and the effectively newly formed Brawn team were late turning up with their car because of all the troubles of getting the team put together and to get that management structure and to get an engine for the car as well. They rocked up on day 2 and went, I'll just go out and put some laps in, and immediately they were a second and a half quicker than everybody else. And it's like, whoa, let's put some fuel in this and slow the car down. It's that sort of history that you can have through these tests, where I remember the test when McLaren were here with the Honda engine when it was new, and everybody's all worried. It's things like that from those tests, you learn so much around this venue.
They do, and yeah, I think Fernando Alonso learned from the comfort of his deck chair that it wasn't going to be quite the season that he'd hoped for. You're absolutely spot on, Paul. It is, and if you're a fan of two wheels of MotoGP, the final corner is one of the most iconic motorcycle racing moments in history, when Valentino Rossi overtook his teammate Jorge Lorenzo to win the 2009 Catalan Grand Prix. And it actually, for a circuit that's relatively young compared to a Monza or Silverstone or something like that, it does have you're right, a lot of really cool moments. Have you been there, Paul? Have you been there on your travels?
Never been to. But I've only ever been to Spain once, and that was to land at an airport to go to the south of France, because we literally landed the other side of the border and then travelled up into France. So I've never actually spent time in Spain, so it's one place that I would like to go to a test weekend and just go along with my camera and just get lots of photos of very expensive cars.
Well, it's a good visit. It's quite a modern facility in places, but you know, you've on the outskirts of the circuit, you've particularly for the MotoGP race, you've got a lot of concession stands, bars, food stalls, etc. It's got a really nice atmosphere to it. In fact, they have their annual 24-hour race next weekend. Yes, next weekend. My math. Yes, next weekend. So that's the big for the Creventic 24-hour series. It's kind of their big marquee event, and the atmosphere there on the Friday evening is always good fun.
I tell you what, that's an event I wouldn't mind going to be honest. I got my little sampling of the Creventic 24-hour series, and I loved the atmosphere in the paddock, and certainly I'd love to just go and attend as a spectator and take it all in. But if somebody will pay for me to go, then that would be even better. Anyway, we are getting ready for round number 11 of the World GT Championships. Let's quickly take you through your starting grid, and it's Karel Pakalka who is leading off the grid here with Michael Gray alongside them. Sophia Ridpath and Andy Archer on row number 2, with Alex Davidson and Adam Watson on row number 3. Fourth row of the grid is Adam Tompkins and Matthias Lutchak, with Leif Sebastian and Axel Sliptrovic on row number 5. The sixth row, Jack Sedgwick and Ross McFarlane. Row 7 for James Bume and Jack Osborne. Paul Webster and Richard Simnett on row number 8, with Michael Rack and Adam Hedgecock on row number 9. 10th row of the grid, Patty Faulkner and Tim Perry, Lars Van Rijn and Chris Gooch, then on row number 11. Row 12 for Phil Samways and Will Guthrie. Next row of the grid is Josh Boot with Ben Gregory, then it's Daniel Sedgley and Paul Clist on row number 14. Row 15, Tom Weston and Jonathan Walker. The final couple of rows of the grid, Ethan Critchley, Niels Bocage, Matt Fletcher and Dennis Grabowski rounds out your 34-car grid. Drivers are getting themselves underway behind the pace car. Peter, are you basically sticking the flag of Scotland, purely in the ground here for Alex Davidson win?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I think
the Saltire will be flying high.
I am flying the Saltire for Alex Davidson here. He was quite unlucky in there in race 1. He's starting in a brilliant position, and he's got the speed to get through to the front and pull away. But motor racing often doesn't work out how you plan sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes, but we will be all set for racing here. Green flag, and we're underway for round number 11 of the World GT Championship. Karel Pakalka gets the good launch off the start as they're heading down towards turn number 1. It's a long old charge down here. They're going 3 wide for third place, and it's Alex Davidson, and his contact is there. No, a little bit of rubbing perhaps. Through the go. Oh, there is contact there though, and that's for Lutchak. So Lutchak is having to wait patiently. Corner exit, and then we'll pull away. But Pakalka and Michael Gray trying to work ahead, but Alex Davidson already gains 2 places in the opening of this race. I think he's going to be the driver on the charge here, Peter.
He's definitely the man to watch here in that BMW, but a good start from Karel Pakalka. He's just got to try and run as best a race as he can. Same thing for Michael Gray, who's got to worry about Adam Watson, who's his big class rival, just 2 cars behind in the Porsche. And Pakalka there either didn't get the power down right coming through, or it was letting Michael Gray through, but there'd be a strange time to do it. Nevertheless, side by side they go down the back straightaway, and Alex Davidson's trying to make his way through the field and trying through these 2 here as they go into the stadium section. Very, very difficult to overtake here, but Alex Davidson is somehow making it work as Pakalka gets held up a little bit there, and Adam Watson, you don't need to ask him twice. He says, thank you very much. 3rd place, please.
Yeah, down the inside and through he goes then to take that place, plunging downhill into the final corner. Of course, only 13 turns on this historic layout, and Pakalka slow off the final corner, and Leif Sebastian trying to work through and trying to get the run through in that Porsche, and does so. So up into 4th for Sebastian, down to 5th for our pole sitter at the end of the first lap of this race. Ross McFarlane's busy moving up the field as well, just in the background of that shot as he went through turns 1 and 2. And Sophia Ridpath is on the outside here, just dropping a couple of places. Bume is already making up places, so too is Ross McFarlane, up 4 places for both of those two in the early stages of this race.
Well, I do wonder if Pakalka's just playing this tactically. His nearest rival is in 11th in Sophia Ridpath, and I think with those other quicker drivers are coming through, he just went, through you go. I'm not going to make any risks trying to defend this. Ben Gregory. Oh, it's been a difficult season for him, and he's going to get his way back onto circuit. He's flashing his lights away, so I wonder if there's contact possibly between Ben and another driver. But yeah, not a good day for Ben Gregory so far.
Slow down for Axel Slijeptrovic we saw then just briefly as we carry on with green flag racing. This is what we do like to see. Green flag racing all the way through. No safety cars so far tonight. As we go through the right-hander, such a quick right-hander. You can cut quite a bit of the inside of that curb on that right-hander at turn 12. And then turn 13, you don't really want to touch that curb on the inside. You want to just get as close as possible to then carry the speed out the corner. Denis Grabowski is on a charge already in this race, up 11 places in his privateer Porsche, and the black liveried car down the inside, almost making 2 spots up there, Peter.
Huge move on the brakes there, going down into turn 1. I wonder actually if that was the initial plan, but at one point you've got to go, well, we're in for a penny, in for a pound now. We've just got to commit to this and try the best that we can there, and that's exactly what Grabowski did there, and almost actually had to let the brake off to sort of just coast into the corner and make sure that the move was completed. Davidson to the front of the race, that didn't take long.
Yeah, so that's under 5 minutes. Oh, Daniel Sedgley. It's been a nightmare for Sedgley in this round. Off into the gravel. That was down at the hairpin at turn 5. So not good at all for Daniel. But yeah, change of lead then. Alex Davidson to the front. Sebastian, my goodness. Talk about getting that car down the inside and then stopping it. I thought it was a bit of a dive bomb, but actually held it on the apex. Well done.
Brilliant move there from Luis Sebastian. I don't think Adam Watson was quite expecting it, but this is where Adam Watson, he's kind of got to keep his inner Tasmanian devil at bay here, and just try and just keep that pace. Oh, Ross McFarlane gets punted by, was that Boomy?
Car 29.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my word. So our 2 leading drivers in the championship come together then.
Yeah,
well.
Wasn't car 29 because that's Daniel Sedgley. But yeah, James Bume in 28. It's very easy to get an 8 and a 9 mixed up with this font. But yeah, the 2 of them getting together. So championship rivals. I mean, that could be big for Alex Davidson after what would have felt like a bit of a bad finish to race number 1 of the evening. Could actually end up being a really good turn up for the books here for race number 2 and 3.
Could be, and you just don't know what the reverse grid is going to do. That's the one thing that's out of the driver's control. So McFarlane back to 24th, Bume back to 26th. So yeah, all of a sudden Alex Davidson's being able to hold it together and get home in 9th after that collision really is paying off. And at the moment, you'd be surprised to see him caught now. Leif Sebastian is just over a second behind at this stage, so he is within touch, but I'd be surprised to see Davidson tuck this away now. But 13 and a half minutes to go. Let's see. Adam Watson driving very well here, up to 3rd, up to the Pro-Am class lead, and it's exactly what he needs to do as Grabowski struggles with a difficult night.
It appears that Karol Pakalka has stemmed the bleeding a little bit as well. Held in 5th place, leading Am in this race after starting on pole position, whereas championship rival Sophia Ridpath has dropped down the order down to 11th in this race. So this is looking good for Carol in this race.
Yeah, Sophia Ridpath she dropped to 11th.
Oh!
Landmine. Oh dear.
No, that is a perfect example of why sausage curbs do not belong on a motor racing circuit.
Correct. Yes. Oh, have you seen the Stegosaurus curbs that they're putting in at Jerez?
Yes.
They are. Well, let's have a look then. So we're coming up to the sausage gets the sausage curb. Oh, just hits it at the perfect angle, catches the tyre and bush. And as you exactly say, Paul, sausage curbs, there is no place for them in motorsport.
That reminds me of that incident at Monza a few years ago in the F3, I want to say it was.
F3, I think it was, yeah. Some form of fairly quick junior single seat category.
Yes.
Yeah, very young men and women driving very fast in quite fragile cars.
And getting absolutely launched by hitting the end of a sausage curb. Yeah. We could do an entire podcast about my dislike of track limits infringements and how we control that, but we won't. We've only got 11 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in this race, and that's Adam Tompkins in 6th place trying to make the moves on Pakalka, and Pakalka's actually saying, do you know what, I fancy this 5th place now that I've got here.
Yeah, he's definitely settled into a rhythm, maybe just a little bit edgy on the first couple of laps. I mean, when you're in the AM class, you start from pole. It is an uncomfortable place to be, and there's a lot of quick drivers behind you, and if you're not used to that, it is so easy to drive quite tight and drive quite edgy. And I think you're right, Paul. He's now really getting himself into a rhythm. He's settled down and now setting a pace he knows he can do, and that is good enough for 5th position at the moment. He's got the number 17 of Adam Tompkins in the pro class right behind him, but Tompkins isn't all over him as such.
I've just seen on my track map this. Dennis Grabowski was at a standstill, and look who's coming around. Ross McFarlane.
Well, that has implications for... That's our Pro-Am leader colliding with 2nd place in the overall championship.
That's 2 times now Dennis Grabowski has been T-boned in these 2 races.
I would call that a T-bone myself. I would say that was smashing the throttle from the middle of the circuit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Rather than holding the brake.
Yeah, and waiting. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that was the same deal. But the end result is that Grabowski's just coming out with a very low score from tonight. Yeah, and to think there's only one more race to go. And you said, didn't you, start before the first race had even started, have a bad first race, and it's so hard to then come back from that. Yep, that's right. And sometimes that's in your control, sometimes it's not. This is why this is such a hard championship to win, the World GT Championship. You've really got to stick in. There is going to be races where things don't quite go your way, and it's just how you bounce back from that and try and get the momentum back going. I mean, Sophia Ridpath, our AM championship leader right now, is a perfect example. This pace that she's showing to lead the championship this season is no surprise. She had that pace last season. The problem is she was involved in lots of incidents, whether they were of her making or not. A lot of them weren't, and that was enough to ruin her season. So it's a tough old school here in the World GT Championship. It's a school of hard knocks, that's for sure. As Jack Sedgwick now onto the back of Carol Pakalka after that great move down the inside into turn number 1 from Adam Tompkins. In front of them is the 2 Pro-Am leaders of Michael Gray and Adam Watson, and they're having a bit of a close battle out on track as well. So we've got some close action throughout the field here in this second race of the evening. James Bume just getting back up. Oh, and there's been a big accident involving Paul Webster. Well, that's one car just driving through the back of Webster. Webster's holding the brakes, and there's not a lot he can do there.
Oh, that's a huge one.
Altitude Porsches getting sent to the moon there.
That get about 4 or 5 cars involved in that one.
Yes. Well, Jack Cedric making his way through the field and sets up the move here on Karol Pacalka. Pacalka gives plenty move. This is a really, really smart drive from Karol Pacalka. Neither his race nor his championship has anything to do with one of the front-running pros in Jack Cedric. His main goal is just finish as high up the overall order as possible, and get this AM win in the bag, and at the moment he has that well in his control, and getting in a tussle with Jack Cedric would just take away that control. Really, really impressive driving here from Karol Pacalka.
We're getting a look at Matt Fletcher, and he tried to avoid. That was the Porsche that got absolutely flown up in the air, and the problem with that turn 9 is that you're coming over a blind crest, and it's a fast corner as well. You're committed through that corner, and then suddenly find a car in the middle of the track, and you think, last minute, I'll go that side, but it's just too late. You end up in the accident. The point I was going to make, because Leif Sebastian has been closing up to your leader, by the way. So Davidson Sebastian ding round 2 after what happened in the first race. The point I was going to make was about Jack Cedric, because a few seasons ago, Cedric was in the Ferrari 488 GT3, and then mid-season, iRacing implemented the Evolution version of that car, and he got a free change from the series admins. iRacing have announced that this iRacing build that's coming up tomorrow, we are getting the brand new Ferrari 296 GT3 car, which both myself and Peter have seen. It is a stunner if you look at it from the front, but also it is a rapid piece of kit as well. Will he get a free change?
Well, that's a very interesting point, Paul. Will he get a free change? Because it's not technically an Evo; it's a completely brand new, almost blank sheet of. In fact, it is a blank sheet of paper, new car. For me, the Ferrari 296 GT3 is the biggest step change we've seen in the history of GT3 racing. It's a bit like what we saw in GTE when the Ford GT came along, which completely changed the game. This is that milestone moment in GT3 racing, so it's fantastic that we're going to get it here on the iRacing platform. Winner this year of the Nürburgring 24 Hours, Ferrari's first ever win in that race. And in pretty dominant fashion as well, it must be said. The car is a monster, and as we know, cars, when they first come onto the iRacing platform, they tend to be quick out the box. So I think if it's not an Evo, Paul, so I wouldn't think you'll get a free change, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, if the administrators of the championship choose to remove the 488 from the pool of cars that you can use, then he'd be forced to change. And we've seen that Jack has been very loyal to that Ferrari throughout his run in this championship, hasn't it?
That's an excellent point. Yeah, so if we can only run so many cars, and there was no need to have 2 Ferraris in. So yes, when you think of it like that, you might not need the Evo rule. It might be that because the car you were driving is now no longer eligible, you're into the new car. So let's see. Of course, last season we saw the Porsche 991 GT3R winning the championship in the hands of Leandro Anderuti, and our current championship leader is James Boumé in the 992 GT3R, the new model. So yeah, there is precedent.
Was that the 991?
991, yeah.
Wow. God blimey. Yeah, so it's hard to keep up.
991.2 to be specific.
Trust you, Peter. Right, Richard Simner, we're on board with right now, the AI Race Summaries DCW Racing driver, and you can see the big exhale of breath there. He's holding his breath through these corners. I've heard of, like Nico Rosberg used to say about how he had to remind himself to breathe through corners. You're seeing that here right now with Richard.
Yes, that was definitely an exhaltation as we went on board with him. And interesting, Richard prefers, in complete contrast to one of our other drivers, Ethan Critchley. Richard obviously likes a very well lit simulation room, whereas Ethan Critchley, well, we often start the race with him in sort of little bit of a dusky situation, and then by the end of the race meeting, Ethan Critchley's in full darkness in his sim room.
And look at that, he's changing dials on his steering wheel as well as he goes down the straight, so making alterations all the way through. But is there going to be an alteration at the front of the field? Because these two came to blows in the last lap of race number 1 of the evening. Can Sebastian make a clean overtake here on Alex Davidson, or is Davidson going to say, hang on a second, you owe me one from last race? I tell you what, I don't think there's any love lost between these two, and there's no team orders either.
Certainly, if there were, they were disobeyed in the previous race. So will that be playing on Leif Sebastian's mind? He won't want to repeat the same thing. Either will Alex Davidson, of course. So yeah, I wonder if that will just make Leif Sebastian just a little bit more wary in this situation. It's not like he's not going to try. He's clearly looking very racy out there, but I think he won't go for a kind of half and half move. I think he'll only go for the move if it's really properly set up.
So we're heading towards the end of this race. We should get the white flag this time by. So we're going to get ourselves 12 laps of action once again here in this race. You can see how through the twisty stuff that Porsche gets right up to the back of that BMW, but then it's down the straight here. We saw this last week at Le Mans. A BMW with the twin turbo engine just pulls away down the straight, and that Porsche could do absolutely nothing about it.
And that's been something that in the outdoor world, motorsport, the Porsche 992 GT3R, that's what it's really struggled with, and that's what, you know, in the GT3 category, the cars are balanced to as close a lap time as possible, but they make up their lap time in different ways. We talked about how the Porsche makes up a lot of ground in the braking. Also, the aerodynamics of this Porsche 992 GT3 are immense. The rear diffuser looks like it's come straight off the old GTE car, the RSR. It's certainly as imposing as that. So there's clearly a huge amount more downforce than the previous car. And that means then that it can't really have its cake and eat it. Yes, it'll be better through the corners, but it can't then have the pace down the straight as well. The BMW is a little bit different. The BMW is more of a dragster. It makes its pace going down the straight. So yeah, horses for courses very much depend on the circuit.
Into the braking zone, turn number 10, and I just think that Alex Davidson is going to have that little edge over Leif Sebastian here through 11 in towards turn number 12. You can't really make a move into these final two corners. They're very much one-line corners here. So Alex Davidson just got to get out of turn 13, get the good run out of there, and he is going to be race winner here in round number 11 of the World GT Championship. Across the line for the win after a nightmare of an opening race. He gets that win. It's an overall podium, but a race win in class. Pro-Am is won by Adam Watson, and Karol Pukalka, the Phil Tilt v Sim Sports, after starting on pole position, gets the AM win here today. My goodness, Peter. I was getting a little bit close towards the end, but I think Sebastian, might have just decided, you know what, I'll hold back and hold position.
Yeah, he looked strong there, did Leif Sebastian. Looked racy, but yeah, definitely didn't want to have a repeat of race one. Bagged the points, and yeah, very very strong run there from both drivers. And Alex Davidson, all of a sudden, he looks in a very good position championship-wise, with Ross McFarlane finishing back in 29th and James Boumé in 23rd. James Boumé will be hoping that it's a big reverse grid. Ross McFarlane, unless we get a complete reverse, he's likely going to be starting near the back of the pack for race 3. A disaster for the 4-time champion.
Yeah, been a nightmare, and well, there is the last of our finishers across the line. But before we get you your results, we will show the reverse grid draw and get ourselves our grid for the final race of the evening. Where is it going to land? Well, it's slowing down. It's gone past full, so we're not going to get a full one. It's a relatively small one again. It's 17. So, again, quite a small one in relative terms. So we'll have to see from the results where that puts us for pole position. But speaking of those results, Alex Davidson then for Pure Sims Esports, he wins this race by 0.3 of a second over Leif Sebastian in this second race of the evening. Adam Watson is your best Pro-Am, third place overall for Altitude Esports White, ahead of Michael Gray in that Full Tilt V Motorsports car. Then fifth place for Jack Sedgwick ahead of Axel Sliptrovic. Adam Tompkins on its seventh place in the end ahead of Richard Simner, who was the third placed Pro-Am driver, AI Race Summaries DCW Racing driver in 8th overall. Karol Pakalka for Full Tilt V Sim Sports in 9th, and an AM win for them ahead of Andy Archer, rounding out the top 10. 11th place for Tim Perry ahead of the second place in class Sophia Ridpath. 12th place overall for the Olympus Esports driver Jack Holsborn, and Ethan Critchley 13th and 14th ahead of third placed AM driver Adam Hedgecock for the Altitude Esports blue team. The front row of the next grid is going to be Matthias Lukczak, and on pole position Nils Bocage for the NJB Performance by Falker transport team. So pole position for Nils in that next race. Josh Boots and Lars van Rijn just miss out along with Jonathan Walker. Phil Samways finishes ahead of Ben Gregory in 22nd. James Bume then, as you pointed out, Peter, down in 23rd after that incident with Ross McFarlane. Tom Weston, I don't know why I keep on saying Watson. Tom Weston ahead of Will Guthrie with Paul Clist in 26th. Daniel Sedgley and Paul Webster round out 28th. Ross McFarlane, two incidents in this race, finishes 29th ahead of Dennis Grabowski, 30th place. Last driver on the lead lap was Paddy Faulkner, and then those did not finish. Michael Rack, Matt Fletcher and Chris Gooch. So that is race number 2 of the 3 this evening, and we've got one more race to look forward to here, but some really interesting performances there. I mean, you pointed it out straight away that Alex Davidson had the best opportunity of a win. Does get it, but only just ahead of Leif Sebastian.
Leif Sebastian run him very hard. Really, really impressive drive there from Leif Sebastian, because he didn't quite have the same grid spot that Alex Davidson did, but he got himself to the front of the field to chase down Alex Davidson. Didn't quite get it, but yeah, really, really good drive. And Adam Watson, like I say, is keeping that inner Tasmanian Devil under control, and yeah, an overall podium, a class win, and with Grabowski having an unmitigated disaster so far, 2 really strong finishes for Adam Watson. He could end up coming out of this meeting leading the championship in Pro-Am, having come into this round, quick mathematics, 82 points behind.
Yeah, certainly it's a great opportunity for Adam. You've got to take opportunities like this. Days like today do not come every day, and so you do have to take those opportunities. Karol Pakalka started pole position, looked a little bit flustered on the opening lap or two, but then settled down into that race. Does finished in 9th place overall in the end. Still a good solid drive from Karol from the front of the grid.
I would totally agree with that assessment. It did look a bit edgy in those first couple of laps, but he clearly had a game plan and he stuck to it. He stuck to that game plan of going, okay, we're not going for the overall win. We've got Alex Davidson starting 5 places behind us. There's no way we're going to keep him at bay. So let's not lose much time when he's coming through. And that's exactly what Karol Pakalka did. And what that meant was he eliminated the mistakes, and it meant that his AM Championship rivals, Sophia Ridpath and Adam Hedgecock, a couple of places further down from that, they couldn't get near him. It was impossible then. They really well managed from Karol Pakalka, and well, we're going to see a really brilliant battle in the AMs in the final race of the day, because with that quite small reverse grid, they're all going to be within that reverse grid, and they're all going to be starting fairly similar to each other. So watch for that AM battle.
Yeah, it's going to be one to keep an eye on. Ethan Critchley in that race, the biggest mover, gained 17 places. Your pole sitter for this final race, by the way, Nils Bakaj, 15 places gained. I mean, I would actually say quite a deserved pole position then, given the 15 places gained in that second race of the evening.
Yeah, he's earned it. Definitely earned it to make so many positions up. Likewise, Ethan Critchley to gain 17, coming from 31st on the grid. All he was thinking about there was getting himself as far up the order and just hoping that he caught the reverse grid, and he gave himself the best chance of doing it. He got that reverse grid, and Ethan Critchley can try and get some good points on the board and sort of get out of here with some sort of a result, because there is no driver has a championship where every week goes perfect. They do have a drop score. But you don't want your drop score to be a big fat 0. You want your drop score to be as good as possible.
You certainly do. Well, we're going to step aside for just a few moments, but stick around because the final race of the evening will be coming up here on RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to live coverage of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Rounds 10 to 12 of this season, the 14th season of the World GT Championship. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay in the commentary box for you all this evening. And Joe, I actually enjoyed that last race. I thought it was a good race to commentate on, but this final race, 17 places reversed, and look at those conditions. It's even hotter out there on track.
It is. It was around 38 degrees Celsius before we went into race 2. For this third and final race, 43 degrees Celsius, and that's just going to ratchet up the peril really for the drivers, because that just now getting towards excessive track temperature is going to make it very greasy and slippy out there as well. Just not quite the same grip. The tyres can't quite grip to the surface in these excessively high temperatures. Lots of sunshine here in Catalonia, just near, it's on the outskirts of the city of Barcelona, near a little village called Montmeló, which goes completely bananas when the big MotoGP and Formula 1 races come to town.
I mean, Spain has always been more of a MotoGP, more of a motorcycle country, hasn't it, in terms of spectators?
Until Fernando Alonso came along,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you have 4 MotoGP races in Spain. You have Aragon, Jerez, Jerez, Valencia, and Catalonia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got plenty of choice.
They like their motorcycle racing.
But of course, at the moment, they've got both Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz as well to cheer over. So, and
right.
Mr. Smooth Operator himself, Carlos Sainz Jr. He is very much certainly somebody who's very good behind the wheel. But who else is good behind the wheel? Our drivers here in the World GT Championship. Maybe not Formula One standard, but certainly they are putting on a good show for us here this evening in the World GT Championship. Reverse grid, and one driver that I think is going to have a good race in this one is Matthias Luchak, because they're going to be starting front row of the grid alongside Nils Bocage. Not been the best of races for Matthias, but this is an opportunity to get a race win here.
You couldn't ask for a better opportunity, could you? With a clear view down towards turn one. I mean, we've seen on that opening lap it get pretty busy going through that quite tight right left-hander where it can bottle up quite easily. And if you get on the wrong side of it, you can lose so many places through that section. So to have that clear view, to be the one that sets the pace, knowing when to hit the loud pedal and just get a little bit of a jump on everyone else, that is the place where you want to be. So Matthias Luchak has got that opportunity, he's got to grasp it.
Of course, Luchak won the second race of the evening last time out at Circuit de la Sarthe, so does have race winning experience now in this championship in a reverse grid. So shorter race, as long as he can keep it on the grey stuff, has got a good opportunity. But some of your AMs and Pro-Ams, again, good opportunity to get some points here over the rivals. And I think this is a crucial race for Adam Watson to not get involved in somebody else's accidents and to get as many points as possible now.
Yeah, got to keep it clean, keep it smooth. He's clearly got a lot of pace at this circuit, does Adam Watson. So yeah, just get it home now. You've done the hard work. You're not on the back foot. You're very much on the front foot here if you're Adam Watson. So yeah, get it home, mistake free, and a huge chunk of points, knowing that Dennis Kapowski again has got to start deep in the pack. Yeah, certainly does need to start back there. Well, the drivers just getting themselves the last few seconds of practice here before they start this race. We'll touch quickly on the remaining part of the season, because these drivers, the next endurance round for me is, I think all of the endurance rounds, they have picked some absolutely just fantastic circuits. I mean, Sebring to start the season, Silverstone with the endurance round that we did last, and then Daytona International Speedway. You can't get better real than that. Daytona, one of the iconic endurance racing venues, and one where strategy comes into it so much, all about fuel consumption at that circuit, and who's going to master that the best, I wonder.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but we are getting ourselves set for the final grid of this evening here in the World GT Championship, and on the front row of the grid then, it is Nils Bocage and Matthias Luchak sharing that front row. Second row of the grid, Adam Hedgecock and Ethan Critchley. Can Critchley keep that McLaren on track and gain more positions like he did in race number 2? Jack Osborne and Sophia Ridpath round out row number 3. Row 4 for Tim Perry and Andy Archer, with the 5th row shared by Karol Pakalka and Richard Simner. Adam Tompkins and Axel Sliptrovich rounds out the 6th row of the grid. Row 7 for Jet Sedgwick and Michael Gray, with Adam Watson and Leif Sebastian on row number 8. Row 9, it's Alex Davidson and Josh Booth. 10th row of the grid for Lars Van Ryn and Jonathan Walker, with Phil Samways, Ben Gregory on the 11th row of the grid. 12th row is James Bume and Tom Weston. Then Will Guthrie and Joseph Clist are at row number 13, with the 14th row of Daniel Sedgley and Paul Webster. Row 15 is Ross McFarlane and Dennis Grabowski. Final 2 rows of the grid, Paddy Faulkner and Michael Rack, Matt Fletcher and Chris Gooch starting all the way at the back of the grid. Matt Fletcher does request, can I please finish this race?
That's up to him.
There's only so much we can control here in the commentary booth. I mean, we usually have a very strong strain of commentators' curse usually comes into play at some point in one of these races, but I don't remember actually cursing Matt Fletcher quite as much as he's had this round. Well, the Pierce truck, that heads down pit road, and we are set for the final race of the evening, and Nils Blokage has gone very early, straight out the corner exit and onto the loud pedal, green flag in the air, and we're underway for the final race of the evening here in the World GT Championship. Down towards turn 1 we go, and into the braking zone. It's going to be a fight for the lead. Blokage has run wide. Here comes Luckjack, and here comes Ethan Critchley. It's almost 3 wide into turn number 3. Critchley, is he going to go all the way around the outside of turn number 3? It looks like it, although that Porsche does fight back on the inside. Heading towards turn number 4. Onto the brakes they go. And well, Critchley just has to stay behind for the time being.
Noticeable difference there in the corner speed. The Porsche could get there than the McLaren. William Guthrie off the road. Another difficult night for him as they all shuffle about. Little bits of contact here and there, but in general the drivers get through clean. But Ethan Critchley up into second position, trying to make his way forward, trying to get a big result here in this third and final race. Try and move on with a little bit of momentum as Phil Sandways backs it into the wall there in his Mercedes.
Lars Van Rijn is another one that's stopped out there on track, but we stay green flag racing down the inside, and through goes that BMW. So ahead of Andy Archer then is Sophia Ridpath. So Ridpath moving forward in this field. Richard Simners off at turn 11. Well, we're having all sorts of shenanigans here on the opening lap of this final race. And Simner, again, busy behind the wheel, gets back up underway though.
Big. That was close.
Is that a slow down penalty? It is. Andy Archer's got a slow down penalty.
Yeah, and look at all the cars flowing past that McLaren of Andy Archer. So many drivers, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 positions just slipping through his fingers. It all spin for Ben Gregory, and then gets a help around for his trouble. 3 from 3 is disaster night again for Ben Gregory. I
think Ben will want to forget about tonight with this one. I think that's it's one character building, I think, is what they say, isn't it? Yeah,
it's never what you want to be told at the time. You're going, I don't need any more character, thank you very much. But a few weeks later, you're like, actually, I feel better, I feel tougher now.
Well, James Bume is trying to move his way through the field up to 14th now. As a bit of bang bang, door banging, paint swapping. But through goes the 3M UK car. That was Jonathan Walker. Don't upset the sponsors, please. As Walker goes through, Michael Gray has to relinquish that position. Into the brakes once again they go. Matthias Luckjack has got a 1.4 second lead at the front of the field, so he's been able to break away from Ethan Critchley. And Nils Blokage still in third place, so that Porsche doing good so far in Pro-Am ahead of Jack Osborne. Meanwhile, we've got this fight here between, that is going to be Adam Tompkins and Alex Davidson, who's gained 8 places already, Peter.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Alex Davidson. After the win in race 2, he'll be hoping to get up there and bag as many points as possible and try and get some back on James Bume, our championship leader, who sits in 14th at the moment. He's gained 9 places, so definitely on the charge is Bume also.
Ross McFarlane and Dennis Grabowski together as well. They've gained 11 places in this race, so there's some hard charging going on out there in this race. We're only 4 minutes into it, so there's plenty of time for things to happen in this one. Into the brakes once again for Tompkins, with Cedric now right behind. Sebastian's just got ahead of James Bume, so Bume has actually lost out a place there. And Leif Sebastian, who we've seen, has had good pace all evening in that Porsche. And look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 Porsches together in a row here.
Yeah, it's a Porsche party here in at Catalonia. So trying to pick out who's who in there. It's Tim Perry, Adam Watson in there as well, is it? Yeah, Adam Hedgecock. Slepčević, Leif Sebastian there in the 3M car. So yeah, it's all going on. The Porsche has been a popular choice this season.
There's Adam Hedgecock then that we were looking at behind the wheel. And Hedgecock going into that final corner now, starting another lap, but he has got some pressure from behind because there's Sebastian. Now Sebastian is getting a bit outnumbered here because it's 3 Altitude Esports cars all in this gaggle of cars, so he's got to be wary of not getting involved with these two harders down the inside. Nicely done on the brakes into turn. Whoa! No, don't say the two teammates go and collect each other. Oh,
I don't think so. I think Adam Hedgecock is, you can just see him looking at his relative there, just trying to see when he can get back up and race again. And that's about as animated and as angry as you'll ever see Adam Hedgecock. I don't think I've ever seen him actually angry ever.
Shake of the head there, that's devastated.
I don't know if that was if he was pushed or if he fell there. It would need to get another look at it.
Or was it because of Sebastian making that move to the inside and it's checked him up?
Yes, that was certainly my initial reaction. Yes, so sometimes it was. You think that for a driver, it's more that kind of look of disbelief, going, "Wait a minute, how did that happen? How am I in the barrier right now?" It can be cruel. It can be very cruel sometimes. Right, okay. So Leif Sebastian up the inside.
Oh, he's lost it.
Yeah, I think it did check him up a little bit. I think that's what's happened there. Just Adam Hedgecock just checked up a touch and just had to kind of hold the brake at that last moment where you didn't really want to really be getting off the brake, and it unsettled the car and around he went. Really unlucky, actually.
Yeah, that's around he goes. Now, Ethan Critchley cannot keep up with your race leader, and in fact is coming under some serious pressure from behind with Niels Bocage. We've not really seen Niels. Again, I think I mentioned it in the second race that some drivers, they come into the series and just get it straight away, and some takes a bit longer for them to get used to the intensity of the different formats of races that we have throughout the season. And I think Niels is just one of those drivers who it's just taken that little bit longer to get up to speed, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And this is now coming to the floor for Niels Bocage. And yeah, to be putting some pressure on one of our pro drivers, Ethan Critchley, that's really good. And sitting third overall right now, just ahead of Jack Osborne, Sophia Redpath as well, 5th overall, leading in the AM class, with the nearest AM in is Josh Boot in 18th position.
That is going to be a huge haul of points. It really is.
And Karel Pacalka in 20th, who's our nearest rival right now.
Sebastian down the inside of Tompkins, and Bume is trying to follow down the inside there as well. And that's Paul Clist getting, unceremoniously dumped by the looks of things into the wall. As we go back to live pictures.
As John Cleland said, is this stock car racing or is it motorsport?
Followed by the man's an animal.
The man's an animal. I think that's it. That incident there qualifies.
Down the inside goes Bume up a place then, as Sophia Rudpath is just getting a bit freight trained here, and this could be a real problem around this track. If you get offline in one corner, especially at the start of the lap, you're then just absolutely swamped with nowhere to slot back in.
Oh yeah, this is certainly I think our most tightly contested race, where the field really hasn't spread out at all. Look at this coming around. There's 10 cars in this bunch. Jack Sedgwick in the bottom of it as one of the Altitude Porsches goes wide. and through goes Sedgwick.
It was Watson. Oh, no, Watson, that's his teammate. Oh, that's Ridpath. That's Slijeptrovic and Ridpath off into the chicane. And Adam, I hate to say it, Adam Watson has instigated that by coming to the inside, not realising that Slijeptrovic is there on the inside. Oh dear, I think Mark Fletcher's got a bit of work to do with the team on that one.
The person you feel for the most there is Sophia Ridpath.
Yeah.
There is nothing in her power she could do about that. Absolutely nothing. That would have taken her, I mean, she'd be driving along in the braking zone, ready to look to the apex, bang, and two silver Porsches come clattering into the side of you. So unlucky there for Sophia Ridpath. That is well, we are in season 14 of the World GT Championship. That is a classic season 13 Sophia Ridpath accident.
Yes.
Absolutely no fault of her own. And I feel like that might qualify as our commentator first, Paul, because we were just talking about how big a lead she had in well, that's gone.
Again, only the purest strain of commentator's curse available from RaceSpotTV. Look at this, to the inside, tight on the corner compared to the McLaren just cannot hold an inside line, and Tim Perry, you don't need to ask him twice, he's down the inside, and now Alex Davidson is sniffing another big points hole here. He's getting up towards the top 5 now.
And what you're seeing there is you're absolutely right, Paul, with the difference with the McLaren. We saw it with Ethan Critchley on lap 1, is that is a car that's, what, 13, 14 years old in design and has the aero to match, whereas the Porsche 992 GT3R is kind of shiny new this year and has huge amounts more aerodynamic performance, and around a circuit like this it really shows.
Certainly does. To the inside then goes Davidson. Is Jack Sedgwick going to follow? Well, he's sticking his nose in there in his Ferrari 488 Evo GT3 car to the outside of turn number 11 onto the power, and that's 2 positions lost there for Jack Osborne, but Osborne's still in a good place in Pro-Am. He's in the podium spots for Pro-Am, but now has the weapon that is Adam Watson right behind. So the Jaws music will be starting in Jack Osborne's car.
It is, yes, it is.
They're going, it's again teammates. This is Watson and Bume now. Why are they fighting so hard?
I don't know. And you've got James Bume, the overall championship leader, and Adam Watson, who's on the cusp of having a flawless evening with class wins, big points, and staying out of trouble, and it's starting to unravel right now, but just got to try and calm things down a little bit with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I did say, and you weren't here for the last round, Peter, at Le Mans, but I did say that Mark Fletcher was sat right behind Adam Watson throughout one of the races, and I did say, was the team boss keeping an eye on Adam Watson? Well, I think tonight, with Mark Fletcher having his own trials and tribulations, he'll wish that he could have stayed with Watson to keep an eye on him again.
Yes, I wonder if he's warming up his hairdryer at the moment. Silver and blue painted Altitude Esports hairdryer. That's what we need to see. We've got lots. We've got the Century Sim Racing toilet roll for Ethan Critchley for when he gets the sniffles, and we need the Altitude Esports hairdryer for when Adam Watson is behaving himself.
Speaking of Mark Fletcher, by the way, the team boss of Altitude Esports, he's gained 16 places in this race. Really good run through the field, up to 17th, behind Michael Rack, who's up to 16th place. And again, Adam Watson going very defensive on the Pro Championship leader, James Bume. This is just really bizarre. This is really bizarre for me. I'd be trying to work together. The problem that Watson does have, though, he's got a couple of cars that are close behind. Oh my goodness, there's a squeeze there in a block. Watson, again, just blocking his team compatriot there. I mean, yeah, This is. I've heard of aggressive defending, but this is pushing things to the nth degree.
Well, we've talked about Catalonia moments, and probably one of the most infamous is the Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, and we're just, and these are predominantly silver cars as well. There's far too many transferables here. If Mark Fletcher weren't racing, I think he would be watching through his fingers right now.
I don't think he'd be watching.
He'd be in the corner being sick with fear at the moment.
Well, there's a look down the inside for Leif Sebastian on Adam Tompkins. He's got Ross McFarlane behind him as well. Tompkins trying to hold the inside line, but it'll be Sebastian who can get the run off of the corner, and that is one thing you can do if you can hold it alongside around the outside of that corner. You get on the power earlier and then carry that speed out of turn 11 in towards turns 12 and 13 at the end of the lap. 4.5 minutes remain here. It is Matthias Luchacker's 2.5 seconds clear at the front of your field ahead of Ethan Critchley. Critchley, though, Niels Bocage is keeping him company in third place, and Bocage is actually the Pro-Am leader in this race with Tim Perry, second place in Pro-Am, fourth place overall. Alex Davidson, third place in class in Pro, fifth overall. And he's in this battle with Jack Sedgwick right now. Jack Osborne is third place in Pro-Am. You gotta look all the way down to Josh Boot in 18th for the top Am, with Karol Pakalka trying a recovery drive after being having issues on lap number 1 down there in 19th. So Carol's trying to put the pressure on, and Sophia Ridpath, 21st, is your third place Am driver, and off goes Adam Watson.
Adam Watson getting a big hip and shoulder there from one of the Fat Atom McLarens. That was that Andy Archer? It's that just speared
Jack Osborne.
Jack Osborne, excuse me. So yeah, Adam Watson there, dumped out the weight, and James Boumé, as I'm sure he'll be displeased to see his teammate have problems, but I'm sure the consolation prize will be quite nice that he's moved up a position up into 7th place.
I think he'll be feeling a little bit of relief as well that he's not got his teammate fighting him so hard now in that place. So yeah, James Boumé up to 7th place. That's a gain of 16 places for James in this race here today, this final race of the evening. Championship rival Ross McFarlane is in 10th place right now, gaining 19 places. The big news for the Pro-Am, of course, is that Denis Grabowski has got ahead of Adam, with Adam having that little bit of an issue. So Grabowski is now into 11th place in the race overall. Karol Pakalka, by the way, like I say, in that recovery drive, fighting for an Am lead here right now, because Josh Boot in that McLaren is your Am leader.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. In the Am class, we thought it was going to be a tight battle. It's maybe not quite worked out that way for the first 3 quarters of the race, but now it's game on in the Am classes. Whoa, big hip and shoulder there with one of the Pearson's BMWs. Now, is that Davidson? McFarlane. It's McFarlane, because he's got Leif Sebastian ahead of him.
Oh no!
Back him. Oh dear.
That's Grabowski again.
Oh no.
That's Denis Grabowski. Oh, be careful now, Tompkins. Don't pull onto the track in front of people. You've got a blind corner here. And yeah, he's doing the right thing. But stopping right now, going, and yeah, out of the way. So Adam Tompkins, well, and I think his car's damaged and he's done for the day. Oh, now Ethan Critchley, Nick Bocage and Tim Perry are all together. But here, Peter, is what happened in that incident.
Much Grabowski could have done there. He just got rear-ended. He loaded up in a corner and got rear-ended. Yeah, pretty simple there. And Grabowski's just horror show night ends.
Karol Pakalka is dropping down the order. Bocage has been turned. Oh my goodness! And hold your brakes. That was Alex Davidson. Has Davidson got damage from that? Well, Bakaj has taken the tour back to the pits. Meanwhile, Karol Pakalka, fighting for the AM lead, is off into the gravel trap. It's all happening here. This is the last lap of the race. Paul Webster's being involved in an incident at turn 1. What on earth is happening here, Peter?
You know how when you were at the last period on a Friday afternoon at school, how you weren't really paying attention, you weren't really behaving? This is kind of what's happening here.
Well, I can tell you right now, this is Alex Davidson, by the way. He's carried on. Matthias Luchak, he's not worried about all of that. He's 3.3 seconds in the lead. He's been comfortable at the front pretty much since the drop of the flag, and he is going to be one very happy driver in that Apex 1 with Simutech team. Of course, Simutech, series sponsor of the World GT Championship. They'll be delighted to see that the team that they support are getting a win. That's round number 12 victory for Matthias Luchak. Across the line, he takes the checkered flag. Tim Perry is going to be your top Pro-Am driver in the results here in his Altitude Esports white Porsche. Lifts up. Oh, no, I think there's been more drama happen on the last lap because the timing tower is moving. Josh Booth, I was about to say, how on earth is he in 13th place? He's not. He's dropped, he's got finished. No, he is 13th. What on earth has happened on that last lap for us to Josh Booth to move up 5 places on that last lap? But anyway, he's not going to complain. That's an AM win.
Well done to Josh Boot, and Sophia Redpath coming home in second with Pakalka hitting problems there. He came home 23rd overall, so yeah, good 8 positions behind Sophia Redpath. So all that hard work in the last race for Pakalka gone to pot. What happened in the last 5 minutes of that race, Paul?
I think you were absolutely right, Pete. It was last lesson, Friday afternoon. And yeah, just everybody's just decided to take a crazy pill and end up throwing the cars at the scenery and at each other. Well, let's have a look then at the provisional race results here for round number 12 of the World GT Championship. It's Matthias Luchak who wins this one by 3.5 seconds over Ethan Critchley in second place. Jack Sedgwick does end up finishing third place with a gain of 10 places for him to finish on the podium. Tim Perry takes Pro-Am win in this race with Altitude Esports White. He's fourth place overall with Alex Davidson, James Bume. Bume, what a drive, up 17 places in this race. Leif Sebastian 7th ahead of Ross McFarlane, who gained 21 places in that race, your biggest mover in the field. Jack Osborne, second place in Pro-Am for Fat Atom Racing, finishes 9th, and Michael Gray for Full Tilt V Motorsports rounds out the top 10 and third place in Pro-Am. Andy Archer finishes 11th ahead of Michael Rack, and then Josh Boot for Fat Atom Racing. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it. 13th overall for Josh, and a win in AM here for Fat Atom Racing. Axel Slijepčević finishes in 14th place after his coming together earlier on. Sophia Ridpath, who was involved in an incident with Axel, all just minding her own business, does finish second in class though, 15th overall for the Olympus Esports driver. Matt Fletcher and Tom Weston is what a start and what a debut for Tom Weston. Third place in class for AM, 17th overall for the Team Sim Racing community team. Dennis Grabowski, 18th ahead of Adam Watson, with Paddy Faulkner rounding out your top 20. Phil Samways then finishes 21st ahead of the spinning Ben Gregory. Karol Pakalka will be kicking themselves for what happened in the last corner at the start of the last lap. Adam Hedgecock ahead of William Guthrie. Paul Webster, Daniel Sedgley and Lars van Rijn, the last of the drivers on the lead lap. Nils Bakaj, his heartbreak from third place down to 29th, does not finish the race along with Adam Tompkins. Final couple of drivers, Paul Clist does finish one lap down, and then other drivers did not finish. Jonathan Walker, Richard Simner and Chris Gooch. So there we go, Peter. That is all the racing action for tonight. But how do we pick apart at the end of that one?
Well, very difficult to be honest, because there was so much that happened there. Yeah, a lot of more half-baked moves going on in those last few laps of the race, with many drivers appearing to feel like they've got to win the championship on that last lap there. Very strange, but yeah, hard to actually come to a conclusion there because there was so much going on in that last race. And I think for James Boumé, for him to gain so many places on that last race, that's really important to just steadying the ship on his championship.
Well, of course, we are at the halfway point of the championship. It's 2 race wins, by the way, in this season for Matthias Luchak. How do you see this first half of the season going? It's certainly been good going for James Boumé, but McFarlane, Davidson, Sedgwick have all been able to keep with him.
Well, I think we've talked a lot about how good a season James Boumé's had and how much of a step up he's made, but I think this is really good to see Jack Sedgwick having a good run of things as well. His pace is always there, we know that, it's never in question, but he's had some really good consistencies, constantly, bagging points in that Ferrari. And like you say, if he's allowed to change to the new Ferrari 296 GT3 when it comes, I think that could give him a real edge to move right to the very front, because as we know, when these new cars come out on the iRacing platform, they tend to be very quick out the box.
Well, let's take a look then, because the next round in 2 weeks' time will be an endurance race, and it's around this place, the Daytona International Speedway on the road course. Make sure you join us for that endurance race in 2 weeks' time, September the 18th at 8 o'clock UK time. We would look forward to you joining us then. But that is all that we've got time for here today from Circuit Barcelona to Catalonia. It's been a traumatic and somewhat messy night tonight. But one driver who finished that final race in the win, Matthias Luchak, will be very happy with how things went. From Paul Smith, from Peter Mackay, from Hugo Luis behind the scenes here for RaceSpotTV, we'll see you in 2 weeks for the World GT Championship.